All right, so we will begin. Let me see if we can do a check-in real quick with the coordinating committee. Is Christina, are you on?
Kind of. So I'm on Ernest's. We've got overflow. I accidentally posted my Zoom link in the first email, so we've got like um, 35 people over on my Zoom link because this one's full.
Oh, okay.
What I'm gonna try to do is share basically my camera. I'm logged in with mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Broadcasting from Ernest's screen. It's gonna be really ugly, but I'm here trying to figure that out. But some folks are talking. We kind of have a little side breakout section going on over here with the overflow.
Okay, good. Well, that's definitely a good thing. We are already at 100 participants already, and I am recording as well. So this is great. um, let's see. Do we have Nathan for the coordinating committee? So I don't hear Nathan. Mary, are you there? I see you.
Yeah, I'm here.
How about Romy? I don't hear Romy. Okay. What about Mike?
He's on this line.
He's on the other one?
Yeah,
Okay. What about Mike?
Big Mike's over here too.
No, I'm on this one, Reverend
Okay.
Bianca.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Let's see. So what we'll start off with, we're going to introduce ourselves as the coordinating committee. And I ask that those who are already on for the coordinating committee, that you introduce yourself and you give maybe 2 or 3 sentences of why you joined the campaign. Please, 2 to 3 sentences. So who wants to go first? Maybe we can, how about Mary? Mary, do you want to go?
Sure. So I'm Mary. I'm in Olympia, so Thurston County, and I'm part of the Washington State Poor People's Campaign because it's the one organization or organism that really incorporates all the different issues together. It doesn't just isolate them and try to put them in little boxes. It sees how they're all connected.
Awesome. Awesome. Mike, how about you?
Yeah, Mike Ellison from Vancouver, Washington, and I'm helping organize in Southwest Washington because I think that a moral-based rather than a partisan campaign is necessary if we're going to overcome systemic racism and all kinds of inequality that we have in our nation, in Washington State, and in Southwest Washington.
Perfect. Awesome. Christina.
Okay. Hey, you can't see me, sorry everybody, but you've seen my face before if you've been on our Monday calls. I joined the campaign back in 2018 during the 40 days. I had gotten involved in different organizing around Seattle area, and I just felt like I wanted to find something that I could just kind of put my weight behind and still participate with these other groups, but really find one organization or one group or one campaign, as it were, that is really seeing how all these things intersect, so that when we're talking about one thing, we're not just talking about one thing, we're seeing how it touches all these other evils that we have identified. And then to work on something that Dr. King worked on felt good, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Awesome. Anybody else? Nathan's not on, right? I don't think Nathan's on, and Romy is on the other. So I'll begin. My name is Reverend Bianca Davis Lovelace. I am one of the tri-chairs of the Washington State Poor People's Campaign. And the reason why I joined the campaign, of course, the rich legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and everything that he stood for. But the fact that this campaign speaks to not only poverty, but it speaks to racism, it speaks to militarism, it speaks to ecological devastation, all the different intersections that I myself, as an African American woman, have experienced as an impacted person. This campaign spoke to me regarding the intersections that I hold, and so I have been involved ever since late 2017, and we have been hitting the ground running ever since. So I want to welcome you all to this call today. And I'm glad to see so many people that are interested in the Washington State Poor People's Campaign. And you'll definitely get some information tonight on exactly how you can further not only join, but just get involved and get active. We're going into a new political season, voting season soon. So this is to be honest with you, this is the perfect time to get involved. And we're very excited about that. So the next thing that we're going to get into is we're going to talk a little bit about what is the Poor People's Campaign. So just to give a little bit of history regarding the Poor People's Campaign, the Poor People's Campaign started in 1968, and it was by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And it was the goal of the Poor People's Campaign has always been to build a broad moral fusion movement that could unite poor people and impacted communities across the country. So when we say poor people, of course, we know for those who deal with poverty, but also those who may deal with racism, who may deal with a lack of health care, who may deal with so many different issues that hold on so many different issues that that plague our particular the various different intersections. Excuse my dog, you all. So the movement was halted as a result of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination. And so after his assassination, of course, it went on pause for many decades. But then fast forwarded to around 2016, 2017, the Reverend Dr. William Barber and Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris came together to revive the Poor People's Campaign. And they began to tour all over the country to various different states to gather different community leaders and organizers so they can, one, find out what the Poor People's Campaign is all about, and two, how and come together to figure out how they can organize in their own state. And so we come together as a group of organizers, various different people from all walks of life, who represent many organizations, and we also represent just simply ourselves. And we come together to confront the interlocking evils of systemic racism, poverty, ecological devastation, militarism, and the war economy, and the distorted moral narrative of religious nationalism. And I believe that recently, Reverend Barber had talked about in his recent interview, one of his recent interviews, about the right to health care. So we are definitely, the right to health care is definitely a subject, a issue that we definitely have taken up as well. And so that is basically a little bit of back history regarding the Poor People's Campaign here nationally. We did have a national leader who was going to come on, but it looks like she is unable to access because we have so many people here on the call. But that's all, like I said before, that's always a good thing to have folks that are definitely interested in the national campaign. If you guys, I'm not sure who was able to access the June 20 online event. That particular event had nearly 1.8 million people that streamed that event. And that event basically was supposed to be nationally a moral march on Washington. But because of COVID-19 and the impact of COVID-19, it became an online event, which I think was great to have an online event because we were able to reach more people. We were only probably going to get maybe a good few thousand folks out there for the June 2020 event, but because of COVID-19, it was actually a blessing in disguise, and we wind up impacting and we wind up streaming to over 1.8 million people. So the message went out to 1.8 million people, and I'm sure many of you who are on this line right now was able to access that live stream. Let's see. So we're going to skip the national campaign. We gave you a little bit of history, but our national person is not able to get online. But to give you some back history regarding the Washington State Poor People's Campaign in particular, Reverend Dr. William Barber and Reverend Liz Theo Harris came here in November of 2017. And they gathered us together, a bunch of different folks, for a moral revival. Literally, it was a moral revival that we had here. It was a mass meeting to talk about the issues that we currently are dealing with in our society, and to hear testimonies from various different people from all over the state. And you know what? Let me stop there. Aaron, I believe Aaron is on the line. Is Aaron on the line?
Hey, I'm here.
Yes. Okay. Aaron, you're going to do the national talk, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Okay,
right now?
so we're going to pause right there. And Aaron is going to give some national updates and national history as well. But then we'll segue again into the Washington portion. If you want to talk a little bit about the Washington portion as well, Aaron, because you were there in
Sure.
the very.
Yes, I'm happy to. Hey, everybody. Great to be with y'all. I'm Aaron. I'm on the National Steering Committee for the campaign. I also I work here in Washington State. I'm one of the co-founders of Chaplains on the Harbor out in Grace Harbor County. So like Reverend Bianca said, 2017, the Washington State Committee started coming together. That was when the campaign started forming state committees across the country. And we are in, I forget what the total count is, it's somewhere between 37 and 40 states, and the District of Columbia now have active state organizing committees. The big lesson learned from the 1968 campaign is that you can't have just one foundational figurehead focused on only national organizing if you're not also building out real power and real base building across the states, targeting state legislatures as well. So I've been working with Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris for over 10 years now. And the campaign 2016 to 2017 started to gear up on this 50th anniversary of the original Poor People's Campaign in 1968. We've done the 40 days of action in coordination with the campaigns across the states. It was the longest sustained window of national civil disobedience in the country up to 2018. I believe, though, at this point, the eruption of popular movements across the country has definitely beaten that record, which is a very good thing. We're at a moment now, where we could not have anticipated the huge numbers of folks who are flooding the streets, looking to join this campaign, looking to organize for the very first time. And while it's a huge undertaking, to incorporate so many brand new folks is also the very best thing we could possibly do to save the heart and soul of this democracy. So that's where we're at. Like everything else, it's one day at a time, but there have been critical breakthroughs across the country. I know just tonight, our Poor People's Campaign family in North Carolina had a major breakthrough. They had been occupying the outside of the governor's mansion for about a week and pushed through legislation which forced more transparency into investigations of people who die in police custody or die while they're incarcerated. So that was critical. And it was won by direct action. Here in Washington State, we've had some real breakthroughs based on the power of the campaign. So out in Chaplains on the Harbor, where I work, we were in part with our relationship with the Episcopal Church, in part with relationship with the Poor People's Campaign, we're able to build the visibility and power and connections to file 2 federal lawsuits against the city of Aberdeen for violating homeless people's human and constitutional rights. These are all ongoing battles, and there's a whole lot more to say, but this campaign is very much alive. It's very it's very local as much as it is national. And yeah, I can say a lot more, but I don't want to cut into everybody else's time. So I'll stop there.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. That was perfect. I am so glad that you are on to represent National. Thank you so much. And so basically what Aaron was saying is that, you know, we have been in this fight for since 2017. And some of the other things that we have done over the past few years is we've gone to various different places like Spokane, Washington. We've been to Olympia. We've been to various different parts of the state in order to build people power, in order to really get folks excited about the campaign, to get people to learn more about the campaign. We've went out to various different parts of the state to really teach people how to organize around a movement, a moral fusion movement that speaks to all the different intersections that exist within our country, and society, period. And so that has been pretty successful, but we want to continue to do this, and we're glad that we have platforms like Zoom and online that can really reach people and can reach further now, which is definitely a blessing, because we were all on the road going across state rather, trying to organize. But we one of the most recent events that we've had, I'm not sure if you all have been online and saw the event, but we just had a Black women-led march that happened in Seattle. That was called say her name, :protect Black women, which was very successful. We're definitely proud of that, because we want to highlight the plights that happen in not just highlight poverty, but we also want to highlight the fact that racism does exist. And with the current issues around police brutality and other subjects, we wanted to highlight the fact that Black women have not only been in the struggle for equality and the civil rights movement for a long time. Actually, we have been the foundation of the civil rights movement. We have been the foundation of a lot of movements that have happened here in this country. So not only did we want to celebrate that history, but we also want to highlight the fact that Black women are going missing at alarming rates, that Black women are dying in our healthcare system, especially in childbirth, at alarming rates. We wanted to highlight that Black women too deal with police brutality. And so we had that march last weekend, on Saturday last weekend. And if you follow the Poor People's Campaign email list, or if you follow the Poor People's Campaign Facebook page, you can kind of see some highlights from there. But we have been organizing, we have been protesting, we have been marching, we have been doing this for a couple of years now, and now we want to empower you all to do the same. We want to give you guys the tools in order to be able to uplift and create change in your area. And so it doesn't look like Nathan is on, but do we have Christina? Christina, do you want to go over the organizational structure?
I can do that. Do you happen to have it pulled up though, to where you could share and I could talk?
I'm not sure how to do that.
Christina, you're very, very quiet. Is there any way we could get you to lean closer to your mic, please?
Ooh, Where's the microphone? Where's it at?
And Reverend Bianca, you should be able to share your screen if you get a chance.
Okay, hold on one second. I will have to pull it up.
Cool. And we're not going to go through it, I don't think, in full detail, just based on the time tonight. So we can work on getting this posted on the website for folks to review later as well.
Yeah.
But just to give kind of like a general, first of all, is this better sound wise?
Christina, it's a very little bit better, but not much. I'm not sure why your volume's so low.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm not sure where the microphone is on this computer, but I'll just try to speak a little bit more loudly. Basically, we've kind of put together this organizing structure for the state as a way for individuals to get involved as a local organizer. And then we're working on a way for chapters to get started. So we've got kind of a working model. And I think the most important thing before we like really share this anyways, to lay the foundation that the Poor People's Campaign is all about from the ground up. So we're not gonna, it's not like we're sitting here and dictating things on how chapters are gonna go. The idea is that you're going to be organizing first amongst your personal network and getting, you know, people kind of on the same page that, hey, this is a campaign worth your time. And then if you want to get to that next level of organizing on a chapter basis in your region or at the state level as well, that's kind of how you move up, not move up, but move deeper into the campaign. And so while we have this framework, things are going to look different in different areas based on, I would imagine in rural areas, things are going to look a little bit different than they do for those of us who are near Seattle. And then how the issues manifest in your local areas are going to change too. So your priorities might look a little bit different. But here's the document that we're working on. And so if we start here for the process for local organizers, this is how we need to just kind of view ourselves in general, I think, especially in this uprising right now. And this was a concept that was really, I was about to use more I'm trying not to use violent language, so if I stop, it's because I'm trying not to use military language. They really drilled this in at the conference. No, they reiterated this many times at the last Poor People's Campaign National Conference. We were in Chicago, and that we're all organizers, right? We're all fundraisers. We're all parts, these different parts of the campaign. It's just going to look different for each of us. But we all have to see ourselves as organizers if you really do feel that you are called to this campaign, that you feel committed to the values, that you review the covenant of nonviolence and you agree with that. And so we've kind of got these, you know, preliminary steps to take, that you're ready to, you know, promote us on social media or in your newsletter, whatever it might be for you. And for folks who are artists, right, there's different ways that you being a quote unquote local organizer might look and how you support the campaign as an individual. And then starting to organize, again, your personal network. And then we can scroll down a little bit, please, and thank you. So there's a social media aspect if you're on social media. And then there's just showing up in general. We're going to have different online events, especially right now during the COVID pandemic. But once we get back to doing things in person, and we've already done something in person, trying to take advantage of the good weather where we can more easily social distance and things like that. And we were very vigilant about wearing masks and things like that. So just keep that in mind. If you see us having stuff in person, we are keeping as mindful as we can about COVID-19, but understanding that, you know, people are also dying just for existing. So which one's a bigger risk? But that's another conversation. But just simply supporting, right? So talking to your friends and family about it, posting things on social media, keeping that going. And then as you see yourself maybe more available with your time, can we go ahead and scroll up to the regional? So we've been playing around with language, but we've kind of decided that chapter makes more sense. So where you see regional committee here, you're going to see regional chapter in the future. So sorry for any confusion there, but we kind of have a chapter in a sense of Chaplains on the Harbor is essentially like a chapter where they've got their own organizing principles. They're plugged in with the state campaign, with the national campaign, and they're constantly promoting whatever else is going on in Washington State. Same thing if they need some, boost, some amplification in something that they're working on in Aberdeen or Grace Harbor County, we're supporting that. And so it's this kind of relationship where there will be folks from each chapter, from each region who are on the state coordinating committee, staying plugged in, helping with some of those statewide decision-making processes. But it's really gonna be that on the ground, like what needs to be done in your area, and you guys are doing it, and we're supporting you with whatever tools we can from a state level, but you're also part of the state campaign, so it's not like a separate thing. Like, again, ground up, we're not top down telling you all what to do, but of course, we will wanna have initiatives that we kind of roll back up to the same way we roll back up to the national campaign, where we might not do everything exactly how the campaign has outlined it because we have our own needs here in Washington and just our own capacity, which is why it's so exciting to see so many of you on the call, because we've had some great visions, some great ideas coming in, and we just haven't had the people power to execute. So I'm excited, but this is kind of the process that we've outlined here on the screen, where once you've gotten some local organizers and you're in the same region, and we can help, of course, coordinate and facilitate those introductions, especially in this virtual time where you might not have an in-person event to attend and meet up. So we've got a power mapping, what we call a power mapping survey, where basically you can fill that out and we'll send that out in the follow-up email and kind of tell us what your personal strengths are, how much time you've got, and kind of where, basically you're telling us where you think that you can fit into the campaign. Oh, perfect, that's hyperlinked there. And that'll be a way for us to help connect you with each other in the regions to get those different regional chapters going. And that's been a really big goal of ours for a long time. So I know it's something we're really gonna be focusing on in 2020. And then you might be thinking that you're already doing a lot of work maybe with another organization, or just an organization that should be part of the campaign or aligns with the campaign's goals. And so that's what we're calling our movement partners. So we don't want to replicate work. That's kind of part of the reason for the campaign of breaking down those silos, right? Like, we don't want to be part of just the nonprofit industrial complex and doing a lot of work in silos where we're running into each other. We want to be definitely building those coalitions and helping to amplify and boost work and bring different groups together. So movement partners, there's going to be, just like we talked about with individuals bringing different things to the table, different partners are going to bring different assets to the table. And it might be simply that they've have us listed on their website, and we'll appreciate that and love that. But of course, we're looking for partners that want to really organize and push for that legislative change, as well as that social change. So that was a really quick overview, and I know we're going to open up Q&A in a bit, so I'll be on point to answer questions on that. But the first thing that you can do today, if you haven't already, I'm assuming if you're on this call, you're signed up for the emails, you've already registered either on the national website or the Washington website. But if you want to, actually, we'll send out a follow-up email with the action steps just to make it simple, because I'm trying to say email addresses and stuff over the Zoom. But that's kind of how we envision that. And then, of course, as it grows and as you get involved as individuals, we want to hear your thoughts about that as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Christina. Just make sure I don't have to let anybody else in. Okay. All right. So this is the portion where we will do Q&A. And so if you have any questions about the organization or national, local, or just how to get involved with the Poor People's Campaign, this is your point of this is the point of our program. You just have to unmute yourself.
All right, I'm gonna jump in. I was at sorry, this is Susan from West Seattle. I was at the Say Her Name march the other weekend and saw a bunch of people who identified as trained peacekeepers, and I believe they were with the campaign. I was super impressed by their work and was wondering, wanted to learn more about getting trained as a peacekeeper, whether there's a commitment, anything you can say about that.
Christina, you want to speak to that, or you want me to speak to that?
I can talk a little bit about that. I was on the ground there. We've actually been talking about, some of us that were part of that action, trying to, the similar way that the Seattle Bike Brigade has built up essentially like a database of people who are committed and have organized. I don't know their exact system. I definitely want to learn more from them. It was amazing watching them in action. But we definitely talked about the need of having more training and more, practice with our training. Would have done, 100 things differently, but yeah, I was super impressed with the way folks stepped up. We did one short training earlier that day. And a lot of folks, like actually all of them except for 2 or 3 people who were in like more of the leadership roles, it was their first time. And so it just shows the power of, like, if you really want to make a difference and step up and you can take some leadership, like follow some directions. Thankfully too, the security situation wasn't, I don't know how to describe it, but it wasn't while it was intense, it wasn't super dangerous. We didn't have, people with weapons or anything like that. So there was just kind of one really aggressive individual that we were able to contain in a nonviolent way. And we didn't have to get the police involved for the event, but not for that individual either. So we're not perpetuating something that we say we're against. And we tried to get him some help as well. We had a social worker who was just attending the event come over and help. So it was a great example of people coming together. So we will have more information on that. I got a text message today from one of the organizers on how we can get that part going. So at some point we will, I'm assuming, have some sort of form that we'll put out, or questionnaire type thing, but we're definitely going to be working on that. And if you were on the emails for the volunteer list for the Say Her Name event, then I'll be also just following up directly with those folks. So
okay, and if I wasn't, should I just sign up for like the email on the main Washington Poor People's campaign, and you'll send some info to that?
Yes, that's perfect.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Great question.
And just to piggyback off of what Christina elaborated on, we never go into any march, protest, or anything of that nature without being trained. That is something that we're very big on with the Washington State Poor People's Campaign. The Poor People's Campaign overall, even before we participated in the 40 days of mass action, we had a series of civil disobedience training. And so we had plenty of those right before the 40 days of mass action when we first kicked off the Washington State Poor People's Campaign. And we have always had a commitment that before anyone goes out there, that you have to be trained, because if you were out there last Saturday, you can see that you will, especially in the climate that we're living in now, it could escalate. And so we had these people out there that know how to, 1, defuse, 2, protect those who are most vulnerable, which means being comfortable with putting yourself on the line. And if you ever heard me say this, I say this all the time: put your privilege on the line. You use your privilege to do that sometimes. And if you ever take a civil disobedience training with us, we do elaborate on what does that look like and what does that mean. So yes, they did an excellent job last Saturday, and I was very very happy about that. Any other questions?
So this is Mary from Seattle. And I noticed that there are people from all over Washington on here, and I'm wondering what's the best way to communicate with people about how to get involved?
You want to take that, Christina, as communications?
Yeah, the best way, if you're signed up for the emails, I know it's hard to hear me. If you're signed up for the emails already, we're going to be sending up a follow-up email. So if you're not, if you're going to go now, get signed up, you can either go to poorpeoplescampaign.org, and that will get you the national updates as well. So that's probably the best way to do it. Just make sure you enter in your zip code or check off Washington. I can't remember how it's set up now. They redid their website. It's very beautiful. So that'll get, we tend to send the emails out to the full list so that everybody knows what's going on, and we don't blast too many emails out. So it's always about an action that you can take. But we're going to definitely be doing a follow-up to this call, and we'll also post that information to Facebook and the website as well.
Awesome.
So just to piggyback on what Christina just said, you guys are all aware that Washington State has our own website, right? And if you don't, you should look that up real quick, bookmark it, because there's always going to be more information there.
Mm-hmm. And that information speaks to local actions, and we do share a lot of national news as well, but we definitely share a lot of what's going on with us locally. So that's a good resource. And definitely the Facebook page. The Facebook page is a good place as well to keep up with what's going on. But if you're looking to get involved, definitely sign up. And we will have other follow-up calls. This won't be our only call regarding of how to get involved. So any other questions?
Hello. Thank you so much for this meeting, putting this together, and just kind of casting this vision. I really personally am really appreciating it. I'm wondering if there's like any specific vision on like from the Washington Poor People's Campaign, or like this is what we are hoping to accomplish in like 2 years or 5 years. Like, are there priorities that as a state that we're leaning hard on and kind of have some strategy behind, or just kind of trying to catch that?
So the main strategy right now is we need to get you all involved. That's the main strategy, because I can't tell you how to organize in Spokane. I can't tell you how to organize in Olympia. I can't tell you how to organize in Grays Harbor. We all have different issues all across the state. Seattle is its own beast within itself, and we all know that. If you've been watching the news, it's its own beast within itself. So our goal as the Washington State Poor People's Campaign is to, one, get you all active. Because one of the questions that kind of, just to be all transparent, that kind of irritates us a little bit is that everybody expects this one little bitty committee to do the entire work of the state of Washington. But it's your goal to organize in Puyallup. It's your goal. It should be your goal to organize in your area, because you know the specific issues that pertain to your area. And so we are here to, as a state coordinating committee. So the people that you met online now is the state coordinating committee. And our goal is to get you involved, get you to teach you strategies as a leader, so you can go into your community and organize folks in your community. So our goal for the next 2 years is to make sure, I would love to see at least a chapter in the next 2 years in every county of Washington State. I would love to see a chapter there. We want to make sure that we're training leaders, that we're giving you the right resources, because if you're going to sign on to the Poor People's Campaign, you have to be willing to follow the Poor People Campaign principles. You can't stray from the principles. There's a covenant of nonviolence that you have to adhere to. There are ways that we do things that if you're going to say that I am now a leader within the Washington State Poor People's Campaign, you have to adhere to the principles of the national campaign. And so what our strategy is to train you all so you can do the work in your area. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Can you tell me whether the Washington Faith Action Network is a collaborating organization with the Poor People's Campaign?
Mary has her thumb up, so you want to speak to that?
Yes, Faith Action Network is, and they have been since the 40 Days of Action. So they're one of what we refer to as our partners or partner organizations. And we would encourage you, if you're involved in a faith community or a union, there's a lot of different ways that many of us are organized and connected. And if you think that your faith organization or your civic committee, if your union would be a good partner, we can get you information that you can quickly get to them, to get onto their website, to get onto their newsletter, to help reach out to the various ways that those folks are connected. But yes, the short answer to your question is yes, Faith Action Network has been a partner since we first started at the 40 Days of Action.
And Robbie Stearns Pizarra, is that also a partner?
I'm sorry, I don't know that name.
I know that organization, and no, they are not.
They are not.
But we can get them.
Go for it.
So this is the part where you all brainstorming and figuring out your own connections and the folks that you know and the organizations you know that are passionate about these issues. This is where you come into play. This is not top down where we tell you what to do. This is an organism that we all work together.
Hey y'all, this is Erin. I just got a text from Reverend Cecilia. There's some folks on the other call, and I think they're trying to ask questions, but they're gonna text me because I don't think the audio is working that great.
Okay.
The first question is, what are and how will we know what types of events and actions are needed? There's another question. I can tell somebody's typing.
So they want to know what actions are needed, or
I think it's a communications question. So how
okay.
will we know what types of events and actions are needed? And can folks get trained in how to lead a chapter?
Yes. Well, I'll speak to Christina. You can speak to communications. I'll speak to the chapter. Yes. So whenever we went out of town, for instance, we went to Spokane. The goal of Spokane, when we went to Spokane, I think it's been a whole year now, was to get folks involved in that area so they can create a chapter. And the way that we did that was try to, one, brainstorm with them around the issues that exist in Spokane, and then two, give them the tools to organize a Poor People's Campaign in their own area. And so our strategy going forward will be the same. The only thing is COVID-19 now. So it's going to look like more of a Zoom training. And if there's civil disobedience trainings, we won't use the Zoom platform, but we will use the Great Outdoors like we've done the past couple of weeks, and social distancing, because civil disobedience training needs to be in person. But as far as with how to organize around the Poor People's Campaign, that will definitely be a series of trainings that we will do. And it'll most likely be a Zoom platform for now, at least for the next year.
There's another question from the other call. They want to know if there's more information on how to network locally with the campaign. Yeah.
That sounds kind of still like the communications question. You want to speak to that, Christina?
Sure. So in terms of finding out about events and stuff like that, definitely getting the email updates is the best way. And we always put events on Facebook as well. And then in terms of getting connected like locally and trying to figure out what type of action do you want to plan locally? What makes sense? Or are we trying to flood a politician's phone lines? Like what do we need to do, right? One of the tools that we're using right now is Slack. So it's like a messaging application that you can use on your phone, on the computer, or you don't even have to download it on the computer. Actually, you can access it just in your Google Chrome or whatever browser you use. So that's a tool that we're using. And the idea there is that each region chapter that starts to build would have its own channel. And so then you could connect with the different individuals in that group essentially. We've also got a Facebook group right now for the state. So that might be another tool in terms of starting to network locally. In the past, we really did thrive on having in-person and doing the Truth and Poverty tour, going around the state and having in-person events that included panel discussions or just the general testimony that we have at Poor People's Campaign events. So it's going to be a little bit different depending on where you're at. And right now, we've got a suggestion of using Microsoft Teams. I agree. I just learned about a new, or I don't know if it's new, but new to me, that's open source called jitsi.org. So we might look into that as well. When will we have a record of these chats? Just in case. Yeah, so we definitely are recording this call and I'm sure we'll have it up this week. Bianca and I can sync on that. Yeah. I'm hoping I answered that question fully. I'm trying to look at, Sue Ratner in Kent. I'm in Kent. We can definitely link up. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of this. So if you're dropping your email in there, I kind of like what's happening over in our call. Folks are dropping in their email address and like where they're at. Mm-hmm. So that if you're willing to do that, might be a way for you all to start connecting with each other. So if you see somebody who's in your area, if you're able to drop your name, your email, or maybe whatever you feel comfortable sharing, just to see who's kind of in your area, that might be a way for you all to kind of take note in the chat and start talking to each other. And then from there, you can just bug us at washington@poorpeoplescampaign.org as well. And if we get those requests, we can connect you, that way as well. So if you can't catch the chat, or if you're like on the phone or something right now, you can always email us and be like, hey, who else is in this area? And we can start connecting you guys. But I think Slack's going to be what we try to lean on. Somebody wants to verify that on the coordinating committee.
And also, for those who are faith leaders, if you're a faith leader, I will also suggest that if you want to organize in your particular churches or mosque or whatever faith tradition you come behind that you have, then I would suggest that you reach out to us and we can also give you the tools on how to organize within your churches and mosque and synagogues. I want to be interfaith friendly. So whichever faith community that you come in contact with, then definitely we want you to organize there.
There's one more question from the other call. There's a request, I think, to hear more about the ongoing teach-in that PPC will be doing, like BLM in August, labor solidarity in September, etc.
I am so glad whoever asked that question. Thank you. That's a beautiful question. And that's something we were going to talk about on the next portion, which was next steps, but I can speak to it now a little bit here. We're going to have we're having two teach-ins. One teach-in will be in August and the other will be in September. The first teach-in will be how to organize in support of Black lives. So that will be one of our first teach-ins. Is was actually not our first teach-in, but one of our first teach-ins of the summer, I'll say that. So the first one in August is going to be how to organize in support of Black lives. And that's going to be a very important teach-in, simply because one, we are having a well, the Black Lives Matter movement is having its national convention in August, but we have had a series of marches, protests, and just a series of actions all across the state, actually, but definitely here in Seattle. But there's ways that you do that where it's being a good ally. Technically, like we use in the Poor People's Campaign, we use co-conspirators, but if you attend the training, you'll understand why we use co-conspirators and not allies. You'll learn a little bit more about that. You'll hear me in particular say co-conspirator instead of allies a lot. And then the second teach-in will be on the labor movement, and that will take place in September. So we're definitely excited about that. Romy is one of our coordinating committee members, and he is going to, I'm not sure exactly what he's going to do just of yet, but I think there may be some speakers on the table that's going to speak to the labor movement, which is perfect because it's going to be close to Labor Day. So that's just to give a somewhat of a preview of what's next.
Reverend Bianca, we have people asking about whether or not the teach-ins you'll have to be there or if they'll be recorded. So we can talk a little bit about privacy and the need to make sure that we don't share anything that we're not supposed to share.
Well, if it's anything that's dealing with civil disobedience, that's not going to be shared via Zoom, because yeah, Zoom is not necessarily the most secure place, and civil disobedience is yeah. I'm not gonna get into it too much, but civil disobedience, we go into some tactics, and yeah, you just don't. Everybody doesn't need to know the tactics unless they're truly about doing this work. And yeah, and I'll leave it at that. But civil disobedience will always be in person, and civil disobedience and even peacekeeper training and things of that nature will always, anything that's dealing with roles regarding protests, marches, it will always be in person. I'm also over here managing the weight room too, so I'm a little bit distracted.
Sure.
Okay.
And we've got
yeah, you want to speak to that a little bit more, Mary?
Yeah, the teach-in part of things, we will be able to share some of that, and absolutely we'll have recordings of it. We're going to be asking people to keep it confidential then, so watch it yourself, but we're asking you not to share it. The people need to be signed up, and they need to sign to our agreements about nonviolence, including verbal nonviolence, to be part of us. So we want us to understand that we're all coming at this from the same point of view. We've also had 3 or 4 people who've asked about the 5 evils. So if you're not familiar, if you're not absolutely sure, they are systemic racism, poverty, ecological devastation, militarism and the war economy, and our distorted moral narrative. And the point is that all 5 of those are toxic things. They're evil things that work together. The same way that your body might have comorbidity with various illnesses, it's the same kind of thing. Don't put them in a little box. They can't be looked at that way because they all affect each other. And the same things that impact people of color are more like the same systemic racism is more likely to be an issue of poverty. It's also more likely to be an issue of their environment is likely to be polluted. They're all interrelated. And that's the key part of the Poor People's Campaign, our national call for moral revival. They are interrelated.
And Aaron, I watched Reverend Barber on Oprah, and it looks like he added the right to health care. So I want to know if that's added into it too, because it looks, when he said it, I'm like, oh, okay, there's a new one. So just wanted to kind of piggyback on that. What you think? So
my assumption is that one is getting lumped under poverty, but I can't confirm it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my best guess. There's also one more question from the other call. Folks are asking about dates, if there's any dates for upcoming trainings.
I don't have any dates yet, but Cecilia and I are definitely going to work with some of the other organizers from the Say Her Name event on doing something probably virtual. I'm not sure yet, but we're going to do that probably, I would say, in the next month or less, because we've been talking about it. So that'll be coming up. The teach-ins that we don't have specific dates, but one will be in August during, I'm going to say this wrong, but August is like, it's something focusing, I don't know the name of it, but there's a lot of stuff focusing on Black folks. Bianca, if you want to tell me what it's called. But there's going to be a lot of initiatives, like King County Equity now has some specific demands around different things in August and stuff like that. So that's when we'll have that teach-in, and then the labor one will be in September. And then other than that, if you've got a group too you've got a group of people that wants to get trained on something, or you've got an idea and want to get something on the books, we're definitely happy to hear those ideas and suggestions.
And we are willing, again, we are willing to do trainings. So if you are interested in your group in specifically, whether it's a faith-based organization, whether it's a community organization, whether it's your nonprofit, or you just got a group of folks in your area that is, a part of Kent, and you just want to organize in the Kent area, and you want to get a group of people together to, again, start up a possible chapter, we will go and do trainings. We will give you the tools needed to equip you in order to do this work. Someone is asking, where can I find the Covenant of Nonviolence and Fundamental Principles? You will get that if you request a training. So some things are not necessarily all out in the open, but if you are training with us, then you will get those materials.
I think that actually might be on the national website.
Which one? The Covenant of Nonviolence?
I believe so.
Okay.
They added that.
Is it public?
I believe so.
Okay. So you guys can look on the national website and see if it's on there.
It's not on there.
It's not on there?
No.
Okay, yeah. So because I know when we were first doing the 40 days of mass action, it was kind of just amongst ourselves. But yes, if you do a training, you will get the Covenant of Nonviolence. Any other questions? It says, where can I access the recording? We will work on that. Just look, it says, where can we access the recording of this meeting? We'll definitely work on that. It'll probably most likely go out in a email possibly. So get on our email list. And maybe even Facebook, but we'll converse regarding that amongst the communications team, because that's not my strong suit. I work within my gifts. Any other questions? I'm still letting people into the room. Okay. Any other looks like Slack workspace? Okay. Someone says looks like Slack workspace space can't be accessed without an invitation. Any other questions?
We have somebody asking if prison reform would follow under the moral. Yes, it would. That is definitely one of the issues that we've been involved in. This is the point, is that every single issue you can think of, pretty much, it's going to fall into one of those.
Any other questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Do you have any coordination with the NAACP? Nationally, I believe. Nationally, not locally. So if NAACP wants to work with us, we are fully welcome. We definitely welcome you. I think that'll be a great coordination, a great partnership, rather. Anyone? Okay. Anyone in Island County? Okay. So you got, looks like you guys are asking where each other is from. Okay. So any other questions? Going once, going twice, and Q&A is over. So some of the next steps, again, just to reiterate, we will be having next month a how to organize around Black Lives teach-in. We will have also the labor movement teach-in as well in September. We will be doing a series of trainings, but mainly we want to follow up with you all and see who's interested in forming a chapter, whether it's in your faith community, whether it's in your city, whether it's in your county. If you are interested and you got a group of people that says, I am 110% down for everything that the Poor People's Campaign stands for, then that will be your time to speak up and say that, hey, I got a group of people who wants to have who wants to go through the training, and we will be there to do that, virtually be there to do that. Not in person right now. Also follow us on the Facebook page. Follow us also on the website as well. The national website, of course, but also our actual, I'm still letting people in. Hold on one second, I'm still letting people in. And also the national, the local website as well. So you can keep in touch with us through both. Any other follow-ups that the coordinating committee wants to speak on? Christina, Mary? Okay. Well, the time is now 8:12. That's not too bad. We only went over just a few minutes. That's great. If there are no other questions, we will definitely adjourn. And I'm hoping that you guys have learned. Mary, you're about to say something? No,
it's okay. I just seeing if we want to let folks know we'll be doing these monthly. So.
Oh yeah. Christina, you want to speak to the monthly calls?
I just found.
I'll try some.
So just to give you guys, we do once a month on the first Mondays of the month calls to give you guys updates on what we are doing locally, and to give you also national updates as well. So we have been doing this for, has it been a full year yet? I'm not sure. Almost a year. We've been giving national and local updates monthly on our Monday call. So if you are, we do have a private Washington State Poor People's Campaign chat room. So there's about a good 200 people, I think, that's in there now. So you can ask to be a part of that group. That will also share out the links to our monthly calls, and we'll also post the links to our monthly calls via email and via, hold on one second, let me mute everybody, via Facebook and via email blast as well. Anything else? All right. So that will conclude our meeting for today. Again, if you are interested and you are ready to hit the ground running, then hit us up on our email, washington@poorpeoplescampaign.org. Follow us on Facebook and the website. All right. Good night.